before we talk about the King School's NAFI scholarship winner who is here, I want to briefly talk about our Women in Aviation International Scholarship winner, Lily Mocharnuk. She's I was going to say the one with the long hair, but they're both in, the one on the left is Lily, who was this year's Women in Aviation International Scholarship winner that was awarded last week. And on the right is Lindsay Drayling, the one standing next to John, and she is the very first scholarship winner that we had for the flight instructor scholarship. So Lily's scholarship was the 10th anniversary of it, and it was really a delight to see them both there. This is at the Gaylord Hotel in Denver, and we were just having a ball. The thing about Lily that is particularly nice is that she has such a warm personality, and she's so active in the aviation community, even without yet having her flight instructor certificate. She started being active, and every time we turned around at the Women in Aviation conference, she saw another friend that she'd been working with or mentoring in her home area in the Dallas area. She's just got aviation friends all over the place. Lily is and you'll all get a press release about this, but she's currently a flight attendant for American Airlines. The thing that most struck me is that her aviation passion got started so early. When she was 8 years old, and a family friend took her for a flight in a Cessna 182. And it took her a little while to get back to it, to flying, but she knew she always wanted to fly. Since she got her pilot certificate, she's devoted a lot of time to volunteer work with lots of aviation organizations, and she intends very strongly to be a mentor to future pilots, people who may not even yet know they want to be pilots, and is offering free tutoring service to student pilots at her airport and in the aviation community that surrounds her in Dallas. And she is going to use her scholarship to become a fully you had a word for it, but a fully qualified flight instructor. She just got her initial CFI, and she's still working on her instrument flight instructor.
I did not do a good job of starting off on this because we do our scholarships in partnership with another organization, and they're different organizations. Lily was with King Schools in partnership with the Women in Aviation International. Collin is a scholarship winner of King Schools Scholarship in partnership with the National Association of Flight Instructors. And you'll see as this progresses that it's appropriate that he was chosen as the National Association of Flight Instructor winner, and Lily with the Women in Aviation winner.
It's up to you.
All right. So we're going to talk about Collin now. Let's go to the next page, if you would, please. And here it is. Collin, the thing that stands out about Collin is that most flight instructors now are being a flight instructor as a pass-through on their way to an airline career. Collin wants to be an educator professionally. That's what he wants to do. It's what he wants to do with the aviation community. And that's why he should have the National Association of Flight Instructors scholarship. He's a professor at Middle Tennessee State University, which must be in Middle Tennessee. And he's a first-generation pilot. Have other members of your family been pilots? So he's a first-generation pilot, which is unusual, actually. And a flight instructor and an aviation maintenance technician. Does that mean you're A&P? So I have a lot of respect for A&Ps. It's harder to be an A&P than it is an ATP. So I have a lot of respect for you, and in many ways, that's one of them. And he holds a Master of Science in Aeronautical Sciences. He's gotten other recognitions from AOPA and the University Aviation Association for his contributions to aviation education. He's dedicated to mentorship and aviation safety, including speaking engagements at the EAA and AirVenture and NAFI Summit. You had how many speaking engagements here? Three. I'm holding up a 3. The $5,000 funds he's going to use to get a glider rating, and our goal in this was to, in all of these scholarships, our goal is to give them a boost, help them along the way. And the money is probably the least part of it. Is meeting you folks is a big part of it, and being here at these events is a big part of it. So we want to help boost his career because we agree with his goals. And so that's where we're going, and that's why we're doing this. And we saw in Collin, we get the finalists in the competition, and we read their essay. They do an essay. And Collin, it's obvious by reading the recommendations, makes alliances with people. And they become buddies for a lifetime. And you can see that's happened. And the guy who recommended him recommended very strongly. But one, I'm going to ask Collin some questions here. But one of the things that Collin did is he wanted to be in an honors program, and they made an agreement. Collin and his mentor made an agreement that he was going to do a flight and write an essay about it. Is that correct? To support his honors program. And the flight was a recreation of Cal Rogers' flight across the country in a Wright Flyer. Now, he cheated. Collin used a Maul. He didn't use the Wright Brothers B, correct, Model B with some modifications to it. A Wright Brothers B. You can tell us what a Wright Brothers B is. Hold the microphone.
All right.
Absolutely clear.
So Cal Rogers in 1911 completed the first transcontinental flight from coast to coast. And the Model B that he did it in was the exact same plane that the Wright brothers did their first flight in, except the elevator was in the back, it had wheels, and it had an upright seat. That was the only differences, basically.
Now, they did this trip in a Model B, and they had some mishaps across the country. How many?
Enough that nothing made it that was original except for the oil pan.
Okay, none of the parts were original by the time they got to the other. Was it 26 accidents?
It was
a lot. Okay. But
over 2 dozen.
Okay. And so Cal Rogers had a tough time in it doing it in the Wright Model B. Doing it in the Mall would be significantly different. Did you have any incidents on the way out?
I had a single incident. Yeah. Here. Sorry, thank you. I had a single incident with a starter, but other than that, it was smooth sailing. It speaks a lot to the modern aviation maintenance.
It was a maintenance problem, not a wreck, right?
That's right.
Okay. Were you a wreck?
Okay.
And so he wrote about that. Cal Rogers' airplane was called the Vin Fizz because the trip was sponsored by a soda named Vin Fizz. And I always wondered, through my early aviation career, which I'm not in anymore, what the Vin Fizz was, and it was a soda. So it was sponsored by that company. What else should I tell them is significant about that?
It's what sparked air travel. So that really was the first time we used an aircraft for anything more than sightseeing or barnstorming. And that, although an early development of it, led to the advent of airlines. Basically, mail carriage started that trip. So it sort of sparked off the idea, this is more than a hobby or something fun that we can use.
And that's what your observation was in the paper, didn't it?
Yes.
And what was it, an essay, a paper, a thesis?
Creative thesis.
Creative thesis. All right. I'm not smart enough to know what a creative thesis is. Martha's going to hand you something. This is the
This is your certificate showing that you're entitled to lifetime access to every King Schools course and a $5,000 in cash for the scholarship for your flight training. And we also have a King Schools flight bag. John, can you hold this? That will go along with that. And John Dowd, who's around here, will make sure that you get your check. Okay, John, let's do a thumbs up photo for people.
I bet people like to cut off these sounds.
Okay, and now we're going to pass it on to Barry.
Wait a minute, I'm not done. Yes, I am. All right, and he's going to use the $5,000 cash to get his glider rating and enhance his ability to teach energy management and critical flight concepts. He makes stuff up, and that's very good. That came out of his essay, and it's very good.
So Barry, here you go.
Well, thank you, John and Martha, and thank you especially, Collin, for being our 2025 NAFI scholarship winner. We're thrilled to have you on board.
Sorry, I put up God's so TV.
So, folks, I get to do a couple fun presentations for you, and the first one is one that's a very unusual and maybe unique event within aviation, because it's an aviation event which is actually hosted on a cruise ship. And this was an idea that our business development VP had last year, and came up with the idea that it might be a great idea to pull together flight schools, flight educators, get them all onto a cruise where they can't get away, and keep them there for a week and see what we could do in terms of education. And I have to say that it turned out splendidly. So I have here the date of the next cruise that we're going to do, and this is called the Envision Flight Conference. And this will actually be the third annual. The first year we did it in San Diego in a hangar, and the second year we did it on the cruise ship. And so just to give a little bit of context before we talk about this year, I want to go back and take a look at last year's cruise. And, you know, when Brian came to me with this idea, at first, my first reaction was, you're crazy. And he comes to me with a lot of interesting ideas, and he likes to talk about them. And in this case, we started talking about it, and he started giving me the ideas that maybe it wasn't so crazy. And the reason why I felt like it wasn't so crazy and what he presented was that when you go to a conference, a lot of times you're staying in a separate hotel some distance from where the conference is, and you pay a lot of money for those hotels, and you're not really together closely and have as much networking opportunity as you might have if you were all together on a cruise. And I thought, well, that's an interesting idea. And then he went on to say that, you know, we might be able to get more folks onto the cruise because they can bring their significant other, and there'd be plenty of stuff for them to do. They could make it essentially like a vacation together with the learning opportunity. And that sounded right to me as well. So we tried it out, and last year's cruise featured, of course, John and Martha giving wonderful insights and inspirations around flight training, along with 13 other industry recognized experts that talked about a lot of different things, including industry trends, mental health, generational topics, which was a very interesting one, and the booming drone education space under Part 107. So we had some really great topics, and we had about 100 and, did I have the number here? I don't, but it's about 179 folks that showed up for the conference. And you can see the picture here in the bottom right. And it probably looks like everybody's having a good time, because they were. And it turned out to be a fantastic time. We tried to make it fun. Martha was willing to stand up and become Judge Martha for one segment that we did, where we had a mock FAA courtroom, and we were dealing with the current issues that come up, legal issues with the FAA. and interpretations of regulations and so on. And we had some DPs there that were providing us information that they wanted to have covered. So we were able to do it in a very fun, enjoyable courtroom where I actually ended up being thrown in the brig, unfortunately, after I had messed up an instrument approach and thought I was doing the right thing. But according to the judge and jury, I was not. So in any case, it was great learning experiences through scenarios that we created, legal scenarios. So that was really a lot of fun. And if this works, I would like to just play a real quick segment. So this year, we're doing it again, and we'll be departing on November the 2nd, 2025 from Fort Lauderdale. And one of the feedbacks that we got was that the cruise was a little bit short. So it's going to be a little bit longer this year. We're going to have some additional ports of call. Last year, we just stopped at Cozumel. This year, we're going to go to Costa Maya, Roatan, and Cozumel again. And so we'll have a couple of extra days where folks can go out, enjoy the fact that they're on a cruise, but still get the value out of the conference. So we're looking forward to it. All the cruise days include educational sessions, guest speakers, and networking opportunities, plus plenty of downtime to relax. So there'll be a press release available. John's going to be sending out where you can get a little bit more details, and that'll include a link to the event website where you can find out how to register and sign up. But the bottom line is that from a cost basis, it's somewhere around $900 for a single person, and not that much more for an additional, because essentially you get a cabin, and then having a second person in the cabin is a small additional charge. And if you think about it, for most conferences, you spend more than that just on a hotel. And for this conference, that price includes all of your activities, well, not all of your activities, the shore activities, but activities on the boat, and it includes all your meals. So it's really an economical way to spend the time with a lot of other aviators that are interested in aviation education. So that's even folks in this room, if you would like to join us, please do. Otherwise, you can help us get the news out, which would be wonderful. Okay, so now I'd like to just spend a little bit of time talking about what's going on at King Schools and where our focuses are for the future. And the first one that I wanted to talk about is colleges and universities. And a lot of folks don't know, but King Schools has a strong focus on supporting aviation programs at colleges and universities. And we work with about 50 different colleges and universities today. And we provide, for the most part, the Cessna flight training system in the educational university college environment. And one of the things that we've heard from those universities is that they want the Cessna flight training system to fit in better with the college curriculum. It was originally developed as a home study portion and a flight portion that were just done at the flight school and gone through from beginning to end at whatever pace you happen to be at. But in the educational institution environment, it needed to be structured so that it could fit into a semester or a quarter type of format. And what we realized is that there's great systems that are in place at these colleges and universities to track student progress, track assignments, and be able to put together the curriculum for a class on that semester or quarter basis. And what we've done now and are in the process of doing is working with 2 major educational institutions in order to integrate with those back office systems that are used in that environment in order to manage courses and students and student progress and grading. And the primary ones that we found are Blackboard and Canvas, but the type of integration that we're doing will work with just about any type of a classroom learning management system. So we're using some glue in order to put it together that will work with just any one of those learning management systems. But the first ones that we're doing are going to be Canvas, which is the most popular, I would say, within that environment. So in that environment, professors can come in, they can build a class, just dragging and dropping the Cessna flight training system lessons into a semester or a quarter or whatever their format is, and be able to lay out a course and then assign that course to a student. And that all happens on the back end automatically at King Schools in order to manage that course and report back to the learning management system the student progress as they go through and they do their assignments. So that integration really brings it into the classroom in the same way that all of the assignments are managed for students in classes across the university. And it makes King Schools and the Cessna Learning Management System very tightly integrated in that environment. And it includes integrations into the grading system, into the course building system, into the student tracking and assignment system, where a professor can simply assign a particular lesson to the student for homework. They go and do it, they complete it, and it reports back the grade that they got. So this is something that we're going to see, and I expect to have the official announcement of the release of this and it actually being in use at Oshkosh. So hopefully when we sit at Oshkosh in a few months, we'll be talking about the particular university and their initial success with the product. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of directional information there as far as what we're working on at King Schools. On the next level, we're working on helping flight schools in a kind of similar way in doing a back office integration with various flight school management software that's in use to manage the scheduling, billing, and all of those things that happen on the back office in a flight school. They're very important, but we have our own course tracking system that's managing the progress of a student through the Cessna flight training system that is not currently integrated with the billing and scheduling and so on. When we have this integration in place, and we expect to also have this in place in the Oshkosh timeframe, then when a flight instructor records the lesson that they've just had with a student, it will automatically report to the back end system the airplane that was flown, the instructor that was along, the times associated, so that they can close out the schedule and do all of the billing. So basically, the course tracking that we do will become tightly integrated with the back office scheduling billing system. And that's something that a lot of flight schools have asked for, because many of them today have to do double entry. They enter the lesson into our tracking system, and then they enter the billing information into the back office. And this will allow just a single entry. You enter one time, the lesson results, and all the billing will happen automatically. So the next one that I wanted to bring up is that we're currently reshooting our CFI practical test course. And this will be compliant with the ACS. It's based on the ACS, and it's something that I'm doing as the CFI candidate and have completed the entire oral portion. And I'll tell you, I've got bragging rights now. I've come up to a few folks that talk about how long their CFI oral was, and they're kind of trying to impress me with, it was an 8-hour oral. It was a 10-hour oral. I had to come back the next day to finish it. Well, my oral so far was 3 weeks. So I think I've got bragging rights on that. The difference is that we've covered every single task in the ACS, not just when it says select one of the following 3 tasks. we've done all 3 tasks. And we've completed the oral portion. We're shooting the in the air portion in the next couple weeks, and we'll have that product out this summer. So it'll be a brand new CFI practical test course. Now, one of the things that I think is going to be very, very valuable in this course is that we have a great DPE that has spent a lot of time grilling me. But the most important part, I think, in my mind, is all the side conversations we had in the process, where we took a break from the actual ACS or the actual check ride. And Mary Shu, who was the DPE, very, very experienced DPE and pilot, was able to offer a lot of insights in terms of what she's seeing in flight instructor candidates that could be improved. And we had lifelong conversations about that and provided, I think, some valuable insights. And it's not just what could be improved in terms of being able to pass their check ride. It was information that will be very valuable for any beginning CFI in terms of, here's the things that if you had a very, very experienced flight instructor, which Mary is, give you their best ideas about what's going to get you off to the right start. That's what you'll find in this course. So we're looking forward to get that out on the market. I think it's going to be a meaningful course, and it'll be important for new flight instructors even after their check ride. The last thing that I wanted to talk about is a new capability that we're putting back into the Cessna flight training system once again. And that's, once again, the system that we've developed together with Cessna that is used by flight schools and colleges and universities, 141 programs, and so on, that includes all the way from private through ATP. So what we've done in this case, talking about these check ride courses and talking with a lot of DPs that are honestly have a lot of complaints about the candidates that they're receiving these days. And it's an unfortunate situation, but it's one that we want to help address and make sure that the candidates that are being presented for practical tests have as much knowledge and as much background as we can give them in order to make them successful, not just on the practical test, but beyond the practical test. And we have that information. And I was just talking about the reshoot of the CFI course, but previously already, John and Martha have been the candidates, and we have recently reshot the private, the instrument, and the commercial in addition. And we've decided those are on the King side, and we sell those courses separately, and we sell them in bundles with the King courses. The Cessna flight training system hasn't had access to that information up until now. And what we're doing is for each of those courses, private, instrument, commercial, and CFI, is now we're going to include in those courses in that curriculum the full check ride course. And this is about $199 value, which is what we charge for these individually. And we're gonna put them free as additional supplemental material within the Cessna flight training system. The idea being to try and give better candidates to DPEs. And I see Karen back there, and I saw her nodding a little bit as one of the DPs in the room. And I think you would support what we're up to. So that's the last thing that we're working on. These last 4 things were just to give direction, that we won't have press releases on them today. We'll have press releases as they come out. But I wanted you all to know what we were doing and what we're working on, what the direction of King Schools is. And the direction is really to support the current state of the industry, which is trying to pump through a lot of candidates all the way to the airlines and do it oftentimes as quickly as they possibly can. But we support that idea, but we want to make sure that they're also knowledgeable and they have the skills and abilities that will make them successful in their career beyond just passing the various check rides that they have to pass to get to the airlines. So I think the things that I'm talking about are all in support of that. It's supporting the colleges, the universities, supporting the flight schools to be more efficient, allowing access from the Part 141 programs to our check ride courses that have a lot of those nuggets and wisdom in them. And you'll see those products coming out over the next months. Okay, well, that's all I had for the press release. I hope you found some good information there. We'll all be hanging around after the press release and able to answer additional questions. If you did not get an email to be here and just ended up here and want to get on our email list, see John Dowd and give him your business card, and you'll get all the future invitations. I want to thank you very much for coming, and have a good rest of the show. Hang around and chat.
Thanks.